Welcome to the Bare Metal Cyber CCISO Prepcast. This series helps you prepare for the exam with focused explanations and practical context. Security procurement is not just a transactional function. It is a strategic responsibility that directly influences risk posture, compliance readiness, and architectural resilience. The CISO plays a critical role in ensuring that security investments deliver long-term value, minimize risk, and align with business objectives. This means overseeing vendor selection processes that are transparent, structured, and governed by due diligence. Procurement in the security domain involves more than comparing features and pricing. It requires balancing innovation, regulatory obligations, vendor risk, and operational fit. The CISO must lead or guide procurement efforts in collaboration with finance, legal, IT, and executive stakeholders, ensuring that decisions are documented, defensible, and in alignment with the organization's broader governance framework. Communicating procurement outcomes clearly, especially when risk trade-offs are involved, is part of the CISO's accountability to the leadership team. Security procurement begins with a strong foundation of business and security requirements. These requirements must be clearly defined, validated, and aligned with the control frameworks the organization follows, such as NIST, ISO 27001, or PCI DSS. Functional requirements detail the specific problems the tool or service must solve. Technical requirements describe integration points, infrastructure compatibility, and deployment constraints. Compliance requirements include support for encryption, audit trails, privacy laws, and certifications. Integration expectations cover API availability, automation, reporting capabilities, and alignment with the current tool ecosystem. Security teams must distinguish between must-have and nice-to-have features to guide evaluation. These requirements must also reflect the organization's plans for future scalability, automation, maturity, and process evolution. Gathering input from stakeholders across security, IT, legal, procurement, and operations ensures that the requirements are complete and relevant. Understanding the procurement toolset is essential. A request for information, or RFI, is used early in the process to explore the market. It helps the organization understand what is available, what is emerging, and how vendors position themselves. RFIs are useful when requirements are not yet finalized. A request for proposal, or RFP, is a formal invitation for vendors to propose their solutions. It includes specific requirements, evaluation criteria, and response formats. The RFP process is where CISOs exert the most influence, ensuring that risk, security, compliance, and integration needs are properly represented. A request for quote, or RFQ, is used when the organization knows exactly what it needs and seeks pricing from vendors. Each document serves a distinct purpose in the procurement timeline. CISOs may lead these processes directly or partner with procurement teams to shape the content and timing of each step, based on project scope and complexity. Creating a strong RFP is foundational to effective procurement. The RFP should include background on the organization's security environment, the business problem being addressed, and the types of risks being mitigated. It must define use cases that illustrate real-world expectations and technical contexts such as specific logging formats, cloud environments, or multi-factor authentication workflow. Vendors should be asked to describe how their offerings address compliance needs, including certifications, audit support, and data residency policies. Architectural diagrams, deployment scenarios, and integration examples help evaluate fit. The RFP must also define the evaluation rubric, how responses will be scored across functionality, price, risk, support, scalability, and vendor maturity. Requiring vendors to provide sample service-level agreements, security test results, and support terms strengthening comparability and reduces ambiguity. A clear, complete RFP saves time and reduces rework during later phases of the selection process. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other podcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Evaluation must be systematic and repeatable. A weighted scoring model helps evaluate proposals across multiple dimensions, typically technical capability, financial impact, compliance alignment, and operational support. Each dimension may be weighted differently depending on project priorities. A scoring team may include members from security, infrastructure, compliance, and procurement. Consensus meetings ensure that differences in scoring are discussed and resolved. Vendor demonstrations, proof of concept pilots, and reference checks are key components of evaluation. These hands-on activities reveal whether vendors can perform under real-world conditions. Review of documentation, certifications, and prior customer experiences adds another layer of due diligence. Throughout the process, the CISO must ensure that scoring is fair, consistent, and free from bias. Every selection decision must be documented, with rationale tied to the evaluation rubric and business justification. Risk and compliance must be evaluated in parallel to functional criteria. Vendors should be assessed against common frameworks such as SOC 2 Type 2, ISO 27001, GDPR, or HIPAA. Their ability to manage sensitive data, enforce encryption, support access control, and respond to incidents must be verified. Concentration risk must be considered. If the organization relies too heavily on one provider, resilience may be impacted. Vendors' use of subcontractors, cloud services, and offshore staff must be examined. Third-party risk ratings, cyber insurance coverage, and breach history should be factored into risk profiles. Privacy and cross-border data flow requirements must be addressed. The CISO must ensure that risk evaluation is documented, reviewed, and included in final procurement recommendations. No security procurement decision should be made without a parallel assessment of the vendor's security and compliance posture. Procurement governance depends on clear documentation. The CISO must ensure that every procurement process leaves an auditable trail, including RFP documents, scoring sheets, meeting notes, and approvals. Security sign-off should be a mandatory step in procurement workflows, not an afterthought. All procurement timelines, exceptions, risk reviews, and contract decisions must be documented. Contracts must be aligned with incident response expectations, data handling policies, regulatory requirements, and long-term program goals. Procurement documentation supports future audits, renewals, and vendor exits. Without this documentation, the organization is exposed to risk if a vendor fails to deliver or if regulatory scrutiny increases. The CISO is responsible for ensuring that security considerations are embedded into procurement from the beginning and tracked through to completion. Collaboration with procurement and legal is essential. CISOs must review and influence contract terms to include adequate security protections. These terms include breach notification windows, indemnity clauses, penalties for non-performance, and detailed service-level agreements. Audit rights allow the organization to validate vendor claims. Data ownership clauses ensure that the organization retains control over logs, configurations, and intellectual property. Subcontractor disclosure requirements prevent hidden dependencies. During negotiation, the CISO must work with legal to balance enforcement, flexibility, and vendor accountability. The CISO also plays a key role in defining roles and responsibilities for incident response coordination, regulatory inquiry support, and data deletion or return upon contract termination. A strong contract is a frontline control. It reduces ambiguity and provides leverage in case of failure or breach. There are several common pitfalls in vendor selection. Relying on brand reputation without evaluating the vendor's actual performance in the organization's environment is a common error. Skipping proof of concept testing or reference checks under deadline pressure can lead to costly surprises. Underestimating integration complexity or lifecycle costs can result in delays and unplanned expenses. Failing to evaluate post-contract oversight, such as quarterly business reviews or SLA monitoring, weakens governance. Perhaps the most dangerous mistake is allowing business priorities, such as speed or marketing preferences, to override core security requirements. The CISO must be vigilant in identifying and mitigating these risks. Strategic procurement means making decisions based not on convenience or persuasion, but on structured analysis and documented trade-offs. Procurement knowledge is tested on the SEA CISO exam in both terminology and application. Candidates must understand RFI, RFP, SLA, evaluation matrix, and third-party risk. They must apply these concepts in realistic scenarios involving conflicting stakeholder priorities, urgent tool selection, or difficult vendor negotiations. The CISO's role in ensuring process integrity, documenting due diligence, and aligning procurement with risk and compliance frameworks will be assessed. Strong procurement practices are part of security governance, not just a purchasing function. Mastery of procurement demonstrates that the CISO is equipped to make complex, high-stakes decisions that affect the security, stability, and accountability of the enterprise. Security procurement is not a single event. It is a life cycle. Vendor risk begins during evaluation but extends through deployment, maintenance, and eventual exit. The CISO's strategic oversight ensures that the organization does not just buy tools. It builds partnerships that strengthen the security program and reduce long-term exposure. From defining requirements to documenting contract performance, procurement excellence supports every element of a mature security program. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bare Metal Cyber CISO Prepcast. For more episodes, tools, and study support, visit us at baremetalcyber.com